Throughout the 2024 season, I've been screaming, Auburn in year 3 has got to spend. They have got to be a player in the portal. They have to follow the Texas model, the Miami model. And so far, they're doing that. They just fortified their trenches by adding in former USC offensive tackle Mason Murphy. Let's go ahead and grade the pick. Welcome on into SEC Unfiltered. He's Dave Shumate. I'm Cole Thompson. And today we talk about the former 4-star offensive tackle leaving Southern California and headed down to the Plains. Real quickly, make sure that you like the video, hit the ring notification down below, and make sure you hit subscribe to the channel because we talk college football every single day. Download the podcast version of the show wherever you get your podcast listening systems. Follow us on the socials, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at SEC Unfiltered. Follow Dave at Mach 10 Sports, me at Mr. Cole Thompson, and check out all of our great work found at secunfiltered.com. This episode is brought to you by our friends over at PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com and use the promo code SECU at sign up to get a $50 instant play when you play your first $5 lineup. It's $50 for $5, and it's the #1 college football fantasy app that you have out there. So what are you doing wasting your time watching this video? Well, stay and watch the video, of course, but then go over to PrizePicks right after. Use promo code SECU at sign up and get a $50 instant play with your first $5 lineup. Dave, this is a really smart move because it may not be one that we talk about in terms of starting right away, but what are you doing? You're making sure that there is no stone left unturned for Hugh Freeze to benefit in 2025. It is a must-win year. Auburn struggled mightily in 2024. They're not going to a bowl game. They went 6-6 last season. You have got to strike. And the two things that you know that you need to be successful is quarterback play and offensive and defensive line depth. If you don't have either one of those, you are paddling upstream with styrofoam pads that are going to dissolve in the water and you're going to be falling over the cliff. They've added in quarterback depth. They've added in 2 guys in Jackson Arnold and Ashton Daniels, the transfer from Stanford. They now have 4 of the 5 starting offensive linemen returning next year, and they brought in 2 different offensive tackles to compete for that right tackle spot and maybe even push Dylan Wade at left tackle.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is the best you felt about Auburn's offensive line in, I'll be honest with you, years. I mean, this is probably going into the 17 season with Gus when they still had Braden Smith in them. He plays for the Indianapolis Colts now. Like, literally, I mean, it's probably the last time I felt this good about Auburn's offensive line because Gus struggled to recruit there. Brian Harsin, Hugh Freeze, and them kind of getting it going out of the portals helped them. But yeah, I mean, you had Mason Murphy, who again, you talk to some people in the personnel department at Auburn. They understand it. Everybody who knows the portal knows kind of the lay of land of college football. You're going into the portal. These guys all have holes in it, especially the offensive line position, man. Because I think the offensive line position in all of sports, even going to the high school level through the professional level right now, isn't as great as we've seen in the past. It's just the coaching isn't as great as, and that's not a shot towards the offensive line coaches. I think it's really coming out of the high school level that they've developed some habits that it's tough to overcome. So Mason Murphy, yeah, you can poke holes in it, but again, the guy started for 2 years at SC here now. Like, there's a lot of playing experience. And again, you can say, oh, that's out in the Pac-12 and the Big Ten. I mean, dude, it's Power 4 level football. Add in, like you said, Cole, the guys they have coming back. I love the young cats and Connor Lew at center. The vets coming back. Jeremiah Wright, I think it's a nasty interior guard at times. It's the best I've felt about the Auburn offensive line in a while. Add him in. You bring in Jackson Arnold. You did that review reaction on him as well. This could kind of be, if they can find that back to replace Jarquez Hunter here, this could be an offense that really fits what Hugh Freeze wants. We've seen him add some weapons on the outside here, but protecting Jackson Arnold, protecting that big investment is key up front. And I think Auburn and Hugh Freeze and Will Redmond and them have done that.
2-year starter for the Trojans. He also has starts at left tackle as well, going back to 2022. He's a 2-year starter at right tackle. He was the #5 offensive tackle in the transfer portal, according to 247 Sports.
Well, Bear, I think, not to interrupt you, I think, too, this guy brings offensive line position versatility. I think if they had an injury to Wright there at the guard spot, or maybe even to our guy, was it Braden? There, I got it right. Sorry, right. Braden Joyner. I'm going to recruit him. Got the undersized kid from Opelika. If something happened at one of those guard spots, he could slide in if they feel like their 6th or 7th guys better at the tackle spot. So I think he brings some versatility as well along that. He can play 4 out of the 5 positions on the offensive line.
Jeremiah Wright still has yet to determine if he's going to go into the pros or if he's going to come back for his final year of eligibility. So it's a good move. I think the other thing that you bring in is that Xavier Chaplin, the former starter right tackle at Virginia Tech, has also committed to the Plains. So you're bringing in offensive depth. You're bringing in position flexibility. You're making sure that every single spot has at least a potential starter. And as you brought this up, regardless of where you play, regardless if you've gone up against minor competition, whether you've gone up against inferior pass rush, and this is the SEC, you played 2 years of starting football at the Power 4 level. I'll take that 10 times out of 10. And you're watching as really at times this year, he was probably the best offensive lineman for USC. In fact, he had the most starting snaps with 860 total. He had 797 pass blocking snaps. On top of that, he was also regarded as one of the best pass blockers in the Big Ten this past year. So there's a lot to like when it comes to you're getting somebody with proven experience. You're getting somebody that has worked with a mobile quarterback before. On top of that, you're working with somebody who has worked in a system that is predicated on protecting its quarterback. I think that that's already a positive in the right direction. Jackson Arnold needs protection. They have the weapons already on staff. They're swinging big. They're guaranteeing that every single spot has an answer. But more importantly, it has a backup plan if the answer is not there on that Saturday.
Yeah, no, totally agree. I mean, it's tough to get portal guys like this. We see everybody kind of probably going to go in on the Washington State kid now that we were talking about when we were doing a reaction video for LSU. So maybe Auburn gets in the mold for that, but they're building it the right way. Again, you can say what you want about the Jackson Arnold quarterback take right there. I mean, I'll say this, like Peyton Thorne a little bit, to be fair to Hugh Freeze here, and I had my criticisms for Hugh Freeze, but to be fair to him, I mean, Peyton Thorne was really the only guy that never got it done going back to his Ole Miss days. I mean, even Bo Wallace, Chad Kelly, we've seen those guys all operate his system. We saw it Caden Salter, we saw what Malik Willis did at Liberty. I mean, it was kind of like Peyton Thorne was the exception to the rule a little bit. So I want to see what Jackson Arnold can do. Is he the greatest answer of all time? No, but who else are you going to go get? But you building a solid offensive line around him, that's where it starts. And again, this is the most confident I've been about Auburn's offense. Now, will it pay off in 25? I don't know, but I think on paper, as we sit here on December 18th, I feel as good as I possibly can, probably since the 2017 season. And that offensive line probably in 17 is better than this one, but since the 17 season, this is the best I've felt about Auburn up front offensively.
You're going to finish with a top 10 recruiting class. You're going to finish with some good depth pieces on the defense. Last year, I thought was really interesting how big Auburn went in the offensive side of the approach when it comes to recruiting. And all those players are going to be back for next year, especially at that wide receiver position. The two things that you want for a young quarterback to be successful, a complementary cast of characters in the pass catching mold, and a solid line up front. You got 4 starters with eligibility. 3 are expected to return. 4 could return. That means one position has got to move. You got a new quarterback in there. You have the weapons. You have really good weapons. Yes, you're losing Keandre Lambert-Smith, but that just means more reps for Cam Coleman. That means more reps for Malcolm Simmons. That means more reps for Perry Thompson. That means more reps for some of the young guys that you just brought in the recent portal class. That means that you get maybe Derek Smith more involved. That means that you go out and you bring in a different transfer portal player. We've already heard speculation that Eric Singleton is at least expected to be a favorite down there. So a quarterback gets the protection. He gets more stability when it comes to the pass catcher department. But also, I think that when you add in a guy like Mason Murphy, what this does is it fortifies everyone to step on up. Because the one thing that I've been very critical on, I didn't think Auburn was a bad team this past year. I thought Auburn was a flawed team this past year. I said multiple times that Auburn was a team that found a way to shoot itself in the foot more often than not. And what happened was we masqueraded them as a bad team when they really weren't. Well, now you have continuity and stability and traction, and probably most of all, consistency at the critical positions. Add all that together, that should bring a recipe for success, at least on paper, down in the Plains. Dave, let's go ahead and grade the addition of Mason Murphy. When we look at the chart and how it goes, elite, all league, winnable plus, winnable minus, Jag, I'll let you break this on down. I think that we have a good indication on where Mason Murphy falls. Whether or not we say that he is in one of the 2 spots, that's going to be the bigger question.
Yeah, just prefacing, just to give you a background, this is what a lot of the Georgias, Oregons of the world is kind of where it started, this grading scale. So a lot of guys from that tree, Marshall Malco, Dan Lanning, Kirby Smart, this is what they use their grading scale. So I, again, worked in 9 years in college football. This is how I got this. This is how we graded where I was at. So elite, rare, day one. You're never going to see me and Cole probably give a kid. Maybe we do. Hopefully we do. That'd be a cool episode to do. But elite, rare, again, we're not just throwing that out loosely, lightly. I mean, those are the Travis Hunters, Caleb Williams, Will Andersons, Jeremiah Smiths of the world, Trey Smith, used to be an offensive lineman from Tennessee. He's an offensive lineman. It comes to mind for me. All league. Again, you're not probably going to have most of your roster here either. This is for sure year 1, year 2 starter, has the talent to be an SEC contributor, projects to be a future all-conference player, high NFL draft pick. Man, it's high accolades right there. Winnable plus. I say it on every one of these reactions. This is probably where the core, if you can hit on winnable plus guys here, and like we always used to say in recruiting, if we hit on 5 to 6 out of 10 guys, every 10 guys we take, that's winning. when you're projecting personalities of human beings and their athletic ability. So it kind of goes to this. If you could be 5, 6 out of 10 on winnable plus, and they all grade that out to be after about 2 or 3 years, are you going to reevaluate your roster? That'd be great. Not an immediate SEC starter, but projects to be a reliable SEC starter at some point, likely year 2 or year 3. Could have a chance to be a first-year contributor in certain situations. Has high upside, projects to be an NFL draftable player. Winnable minus. Not going to read the paragraph here. It doesn't mean you're a bad player, but you have to surround that person. And really, winnable minus to me is it that offensive line spot, because it's like you said, you could have a left guard who is maybe just and DJ Fluker kind of comes to mind here from my perspective when I was at Alabama, where like Fluker wasn't the most cerebral guy. They always had to place him next to Barrett Jones, and Barrett Jones always had to tell him what to do. So like, again, DJ Fluker, as he got older, graded into about 2012 season, was a all-league guy. But when he first started in 2010, his first year as a starter, he was a winnable minus guy. They just surround him by other guys to make him a little, to let him know what he was going to do, because he had all the physical capabilities. I mean, just a freak from a streak standpoint. But winnable minus are players that you can win with, but you got to surround them with other good players. I think our guy, Mason Murphy here, probably fits more a little bit into that. God, you see, this is sometimes I've changed it up. I used to have a winnable tab, but then I got tired of that. I had too many winnable tabs. This is where I'd like to put Mason in here, but I'm not going to be a fence rider. So I'm going to put Mason here in this winnable minus category here. I don't mean to be I'm not down on this at all. I think he has some holes. I think his best is because he's got a big, wide body. He's him coming off the football, exploding with his lower body, just overall flexibility and maneuvering people at the line of scrimmage, displacing the defender. I think he can get beat a little bit if you put him on the edge against speed rushers. His probably upside from an NFL perspective probably is on the inside, to be honest. But I think he is a guy you keep fitting him in with the Connor Lews of the world. Jeremiah Wright decides to come back. I think there's some things to work on here. Got to surround him with some other players. I do like to take. I mean, even Auburn people have told me, hey, we understand he has some holes, but we think he can help us suffice that right tackle that Xavier Miller gave up. So I'm going to go winnable minus here, Bear.
Winnable minus because of, if you're an offensive lineman and you're not guaranteed to start, which again, right now, we don't have to say that a guy like Mason Miller has to start right away. We don't have to do any of that because of Mason Murphy, my apologies, because of you also brought in Xavier Chaplin. And that's another guy that has former starting experience. But it's a good depth piece. It allows you to open up opportunities for him to start at right guard. It allows him to open up opportunities to start at left guard. If something happens to Dylan Wade, you can move him on over to left tackle. This feels like a very good swing tackle option for an opportunity where if anything were to go sour, you got your offensive lineman. You talk to NFL GMs these days, you no longer are trying to get 2 starting offensive tackles. You probably need 3. You need somebody that can play either side of the offensive line if you want to be a contender for a college football playoff or for a Super Bowl. I think that's where you're going to get Mason Murphy. He's a guy that can start. You'd be totally okay with it. He's a guy that can back you up. You'd feel really confident if you need him to start right away. But Auburn, once again, we're seeing them make moves in the portal. They're absolutely swinging for 2025. They're putting their money where their mouth is in Hugh Freeze to be the dude next season. It's all going to come together, though. At the end of the day, we can talk all about transfer portal moves. We can talk all about recruiting. We can talk all about adding in the right players and establishing something that is looking to be promising. But if you don't have the wins on the column, you're eventually going to be shoving it out with a bunch of L's. And the biggest L is you getting a brand new job elsewhere.
No. That button was jammed. No, I agree with you, Bear. We're both on the winnable minus. And I think that winnable minus, like I said, fits offensive linemen perfectly. Because as you know, Bear, this is what I do. You can be one great player, but if the other 4 guys aren't doing their job, nobody's communicating. It doesn't matter. We all kind of need each other. You're one unit, all for one, one for all. But winnable minus, like the take, had to take it. I'm excited about this Auburn offensive line.
Like, review, make sure you hit subscribe. Let us know in the comments section. What do you think about Mason Murphy? Where does he fit in your gradable process? Make sure that you follow us on the social channels. Link in the description down below. Follow David Bach10 Sports, me at Mr. Cole Thompson. Check out all of our great work found at SECUnfiltered.com. For Day Shumate, I am Cole Thompson. Guys, Auburn swinging big. Can it all come together in 2025? We're here to find out. War Eagle, peace.